right. So we just had the Department of Energy come right out and say, hey, you know what? That whole lab leak theory, that might not have been a conspiracy theory. That might have been, we're not exactly overconfident that that is what happened, the origins of COVID-19. But what we're saying is there's a chance. Now we've got the FBI chief, Christopher Wray, says, China lab leak, most likely. FBI, what's going on? Why are all these entities all of a sudden going, yeah, you know what? Lab leak? That's reasonable. Let's check it out. Let's get into it. Let's see what the deal is. Hey, I'd love to have you check out our Discord channel. We post all kinds of stuff on there. It's kind of a communication thing. So if you ever wanted to send me a message, send a post, whatever, do it on the Discord channel. We've got a rock on section. You can see all the posts that I do. We've got all of our content on there, including our members only, which is reasonabletv.com. It's $10 a month. We're getting a bunch of members there. We're getting a bunch of members in Discord. It's all good. It all kind of works together. So check out Discord. That's free. News Reasonable TV. Got to pay a little bit, but that's where the good stuff is. So when I first started checking out this storyline, I had known that the FBI, even back in the day, had said, you know what, there's a chance, there's a scooch of a chance that this could. They never said no, that is a wild conspiracy theory. They never went down that road, and so from that standpoint, you know, the FBI has always been okay with this theory, but now we've got the director coming right out. And this is the reason I'm doing this podcast, is that this is one of the most definitive of the big governmental entities saying, you know what? It could have gone this way. That whole wet market in Wuhan, probably not. It was the guys fiddling around with that gain of function research, and things went sideways on them. They got a little of the Rona on their shoulder and they flicked it off outside the lab, and global pandemic. It's how these things go. FBI Director Christopher Wray has said that the Bureau believes COVID-19 most likely originated in a Chinese governmental controlled lab. Okay. Most likely. More than a 50% chance? Most likely. The FBI has for quite some time now assessed that the origins of the pandemic are most likely a potential lab incident, he told Fox News. I would read this to you from Fox, but I feel like if I can get what I need to out of the storyline, and I read from the BBC, and it's all good, because then people can't always say, you only read Fox. What's wrong with you? You need wider sources of news. That's what we're doing here. It's the first public confirmation of the FBI's classified judgment of how the pandemic virus emerged. So here's where your BBC article is going to differ from your Fox article. This next sentence here. Many scientists point out that there is no evidence that it leaked from a lab. Okay. All right. But there is also no evidence that it leaked from a wet market deal, right? You know, dead bat. We never found that animal, right? So that's fair. It's fair to say there's no evidence yet. Or is there? Is there evidence? And is that why the Department of Energy, who has a bunch of people that are good with all this stuff, they know what they're doing. It's not like they're just, sitting around talking about energy issues. They got a bunch of personnel that are on this. And the FBI, the FBI said from the beginning, it might be, but now you got their director saying, yeah, it probably came from that. But then the media is going to backpedal this because, the whole concept of this being a lab leak was a conspiracy theory that people had their content censored, myself included. It's like you put out content and you're like, hey, this might be how it came about. And then you get a little, sticker, participation sticker and censorship. Please see the CDC for correct information on the global pandemic. And so many agencies and so many entities came out and said, there's no evidence that this was a lab leak. That is just a conspiracy theory. Well, now we're going full circle. Do you think it has anything to do with the congressional hearings going on? Do you think it has anything to do with Rand Paul just running right up Dr. Fauci's ass time and time and time again? and Dr. Fauci lying about, I mean, in my opinion, I think he's lying. I shouldn't say that because I definitively don't know, but I gotta say, I think Dr. Fauci, I don't think anything happened to Dr. Anthony Fauci, but I don't think this will go well for him. So, and other U.S. government agencies have drawn differing conclusions to the FBI's. Some of them have said, but with a low level of certainty, that the virus did not start in a lab, but instead jumped from animals to humans. The White House has said there is no consensus across the U.S. government on the origins. Shouldn't they be able to figure this out? Do they have this figured out? Is that why these entities are saying, hey, we're not going to say for absolute sure, but odds are, lab leak. Doesn't it make sense? I mean, this whole wet market thing, bad. Good Lord, stuff's happening. Global pandemic, right? A joint China World Health Organization, WHO, investigation in 2021 called the lab leak theory extremely unlikely. Well, because it doesn't look good. It just doesn't sit well, does it, with the powers that be? However, the WHO investigation was deeply criticized, and its director general has since called for a new inquiry, saying all hypotheses remain open and require further study, meaning, oh no, what we said wasn't true. We need to backpedal. We've got a different theory now. Here it is. There's a chance. Mr. Wray's comments come a day after the U.S. ambassador to China called for the country to be more honest about COVID's origins. In his interview on Tuesday, Mr. Wray said China has been doing its best to try to thwart and obfuscate all efforts to identify the source of the global pandemic. He said details of the agency's investigation were classified, but the FBI had a team of experts focusing on the dangers of biological threats. I bet they do. In response, Beijing accused Washington of political manipulation. No, you're flying your ridiculous balloons overhead and you're accusing us of political manipulation? Okay, whatever. The conclusions they have reached have no credibility to speak of, said Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning. Isn't that just kind of like those 51 former U.S. intel officials who said the Hunter Biden laptop looked a lot like Russian disinfo? Isn't that what we're saying? Yeah, it sounds like it, doesn't it? It's like, hey, look over there. Don't look here, because the lab theory, the lab leak theory, I mean, it's looking kind of credible. So look over there. Look at what's going on over there. Some studies suggest that the virus made the leap from animals to humans in Wuhan, China, possibly at the city's seafood and wildlife market. All right. The market is near a world-leading virus laboratory, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which conducted research into coronaviruses, which was being funded, through the National Institute of Health? So let's look at a mappy map here. So this is in China. We've got the Hunan seafood market here. We've got 2 miles here, is about that far. So I don't know, 2 miles there, 4, is this like 5 miles? Yeah, that's about 5 miles difference between the Hunan seafood market, where they're claiming that this happened, and the Wuhan Institute of Virology, that we were funding gain of function research, but the powers that be say, no, we weren't doing that there. Nothing to see there. That's not what we're doing. Do we have definitive proof of that? Who knows, right? I mean, I'm not one of those guys who says absolutely, unless I know something, absolutely. And I don't think we have that, but there's a lot of folks out there that go down that road of, no, we do. We do. And that's why it's so important, I think, for the Rand Pauls to be out there and questioning this stuff, because I think we're not getting the full story. And I think we know where the origins of this came from. I think we're just it's not being disclosed to us. So when you've got 2 different entities in the U.S. government, I don't trust any entities of the U.S. government. You know what I mean? I just don't. I think we're getting, disinformation, fake information. We're getting head fakes all day long. And you don't really know. So you got to figure it out on your own. But when 2 major entities basically come out and say, you know what, lab leak, could be. That's something right there that, I kind of take to heart and say, okay, all right, this might be a go. And then how will this, let's talk about this. If it is a lab leak, how does that come out? I don't know. I want to do a montage of every person in the news, every political leader that said, wow, that conspiracy theory of the lab leak, that has been proven to be disinformation. Just like the jackasses with the 51 jackasses of the Hunter Biden laptop. Not Russian disinfo. Really? Okay. Well, the FBI has had it for, a year, and they're thinking it's real. So, well, we never really said it was Russian disinfo. We actually thought that some of the stuff on the laptop was true. And that's why we thought maybe this was Russian disinfo. Have you seen that? It's like, what? What are you talking about? Well, it had to be true for us to consider it Russian disinfo. You just got a bunch of stuff. And I think the general American public who doesn't think about this all that much, they've got their hands full trying to pay for groceries, trying to keep their kids out of jail, trying to keep their kids off of drugs, trying to keep a roof over their head, trying to keep a job going, trying to keep a career going, getting placed out of job markets. You got all kinds of stuff going on out there. And people don't, whether this was a lab leak or whether this was from the Hunan seafood market, people don't have a lot of bandwidth for that. But you guys do. And that's why we're talking about it. So whether it came from a lab leak or whether it came from, Wuhan Institute of Virology, where they were doing who knows what in there. But that's where I think it came from. I really do. It just makes more sense other than this random Hunan seafood market just a handful of miles away. So 5 miles, you could run there. If you're in decent shape, you could run there in well under an hour, right? Yeah, you could. 9-minute mile, 45 minutes. That's not terrible. So, that's how close this is. So I find that to be a ridiculously easy out saying, no, it came from the wet seafood market, even though there is no evidence of that either. The fact that it came out of the Wuhan Institute of Virology, that just makes more sense to me. You know what I mean? It's one of those more plausible things. When they said the Hunan seafood market, I was like, really? It could have come from there. Granted, it's just in my mind, it seems way less likely that is a probability. I would give my probability over 50% that the Wuhan Institute of Virology is where it came from. A lab leak. Not necessarily there, but doesn't that make more sense? Because we know it came from Wuhan, right? We know that it exponentially came from there. So your two obvious sources are the market and institute. I'd go with that institute. That's me. That's where I'm at. I don't know. Where are you at? Let me know in the comments. Yeah. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Maybe you think it came from Mars. I don't really know. Maybe you think aliens brought it down. Maybe it was brought to there by a balloon. Just a simple white balloon. Just a balloon. Crazy stuff, right? A few days ago, the U.S. Department of Energy said it had found the virus was most likely the result of a lab leak in Wuhan, but could only reach that conclusion with low confidence. So low confidence. So what this feels to me like is we're kind of hedging our bets. Well, just in case, let's do the low confidence. We're not saying it's a thing. Low confidence, 20%, 25%, but definitely not 30 or over. No, it's low confidence, but then they can come back and say, well, we did say it was a possibility. In response to that, many scientists who've studied the virus said this week that there is no new scientific evidence pointing to a lab leak. Is there any scientific evidence pointing to a meat market leak? No. I think folks are just saying, hey, you know what? Odds are this came from a lab leak. They're just working through all the circumstances. They don't have definitive evidence, or maybe they do. Who knows? Who knows what's going on behind the scenes, right? A natural origin is still the more likely theory, said Professor David Robertson, head of viral genomics and bioinformation at University of Glasgow. Okay. All right. So you got one guy with his opinion, you got another guy with his opinion. But just recently, we've had two, Department of Energy and the FBI, say, yeah, you know what? Odds are. There's been an accumulation of evidence that we know about the virus biology, the close variants circulating in bats and locations of early human cases that firmly points to a natural origin centered on the Hunan Market in Wuhan City, he said. On Monday, White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said that U.S. President Joe Biden supports a whole-of-government effort to discover how COVID began. It feels like this investigation we've got going on, some of the hearings we've got going on into this being a thing, this happening, moving forward, feels like there's a little heat on the topic, right? We're just not there yet, consensus yet, he said. This is John Kirby. If we have something that is ready to be briefed to the American people and the Congress, we will do that. Tensions and bilateral ties between the U.S. and China have spiked in the wake of the recent spy balloon saga. A bipartisan panel of U.S. lawmakers this week kicked off a series of hearings on the existential threat of the ruling Chinese Communist Party. Are we going to have TikTok just completely taken down? It feels that way, doesn't it? It does feel that way, which is unfortunate for me because I kind of just found out my son that just recently passed away. He had a TikTok account. It was called I Am Fart Boy, and he would do farts for people who were entertained by that type of thing. They are funny. What's even funnier is that he had a fan channel on YouTube. Somebody had taken all of his videos, which had amassed 14.7 million views on TikTok. And some dude took all those videos and put them on a YouTube channel so people could just watch them through. And that's got 24,000 views. So I say, let TikTok have I Am Fart Boy. So, what do you say to that? Hey, China, here you go. Here's I Am Fart Boy. You deal with that now. The first session of the House Select Committee on Strategic Competition between the United States and the Chinese Communist Party focused on issues such as human rights and the U.S. economy's dependence on Chinese manufacturing. Okay, so we're going to get into some stuff. Got stuff going on. But, in the foreground of the news, talking about lab leak, which was just not that long ago. Basically, you were wearing a tinfoil hat if you said that, and your channel could get censored. Your content could get censored. Yeah. Crazy stuff, right? It's like, since when does questioning the reality of what's going on immediately become a censorship issue and a disinformation? When does that happen? We're just so divided now, right? Feels like we're kind of spinning back around on this issue, though. I'll keep you posted right here on News for Reasonable People. Thanks for being here. I'll catch up with you on the next one. Bye for now.